Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you own property in Ocean City or you've been thinking about buying in Ocean City, well, first of all, hi. And second of all, you need to hear what just went down. Because the Ocean City short-term rental moratorium has officially been repealed. Done, gone, deceased. And the story of how we got here is honestly kind of unhinged in the best possible way. Grab a coffee, sit down, because we're about to go through a whole year of drama. All right, let's set the scene. It's early 2025. Some Ocean City residents are fed up with vacation rentals in their neighborhoods. And look, I get it. You buy a house on a quiet street, and suddenly every weekend it's a different group of 12 people who don't know where the trash cans go and are playing cornhole at midnight. That's not ideal. So the city council hears these complaints, and in January 2025, they hit the pause button, a moratorium on any new short-term rental licenses in two specific zonings: R1 single-family neighborhoods and MH mobile home districts, which includes spots like Montego Bay. Okay, fine, pause. People can work with a pause. But the March rolls around and the council goes full send. They vote 4-3 to pass an ordinance requiring a 5-night minimum stay in those areas, and then bumping it up to a 31-night minimum by 2027. And here's the fun part. Ocean City defines short-term rentals as 30-day or less. So a 31-night minimum would have basically been a full-on ban. Sneaky, very sneaky. Yeah, property owners were not having it. We're talking over 4,000 homes that would have been affected. A group called OCMD Property Rights started organizing, holding protests, and some owners even threatened to sue the city. Big energy all around. But instead of going the lawsuit route, these folks did something kind of old school and honestly kind of beautiful. They went door to door, collected petition signatures, and forced a public referendum. Let the people decide. And the people barely decided. The vote to overturn the ordinance passed 834 to 800. 834 to 800. That is a margin of 34 votes, people. 34. In a town of vacation rentals and beach vibes, it came down to 34 votes. Pretty wild. So you'd think that's the end of the story, right? Voters spoke, case closed. Everyone goes to the beach? Nope. The council still had the original moratorium. The freeze on new short-term rental licenses technically still in place. And in December 2025, they voted to extend it all the way to January 2027. They were floating all kinds of new ideas: 7-night minimums, permit caps, limiting how many properties one owner can rent, basically throwing stuff at the wall to see what would stick. At this point, property owners are looking at the calendar like, guys, summer is right around the corner. And that brings us to the grand finale. In January 2026, the OCMD property rights crew came back, this time with 1,257 petition signatures, enough to trigger yet another referendum. Round 2, baby. But here's the thing. The council looked at those signatures, looked at what happened last time with that 834 to 800 squeaker, and apparently did the math. On February 17, 2026, once the signatures were certified, the mayor of council and council voted to just repeal the moratorium themselves. No referendum needed. No drawn-out vote. Just, okay, fine, it's done. And just like that, after over a year of meetings, ordinances, protests, petitions, and one extremely close ballot count, the moratorium was gone. The town manager basically said, hey, we're going back to the existing rules and moving forward as the busy season approaches. Which honestly felt like the political equivalent of, this conversation's over, I'm going back to the beach. Okay, real talk. What does this actually mean for you? If you own a short-term rental in R1 or MH zones, you're operating under standard rules again. No minimum stay requirements beyond what already existed. Go get those bookings in. But I cannot stress this enough. You still need your paperwork in order. Annual rental license, noise permit, supplemental short-term rental license, and don't forget you need to register with the Maryland Comptroller and collect state sales tax. The moratorium is gone, but not the rules. Now, for anyone watching this as a potential investor, this whole saga is actually a pretty encouraging sign. Ocean City voters have now shut down short-term rental restrictions twice. That tells you something about how this community views the vacation rental economy. It's baked in the DNA of its town. That said, don't get too comfortable. The council came close twice. New regulations could come back in a different form. So stay plugged into local politics if this stuff affects your wallet. And that right there is actually the perfect segue into something I want to talk about, because it's something I feel really strongly about. If you are even thinking about buying property in Ocean City, whether it's a condo, a single family home, a place in Montego Bay, whatever, please, I'm begging you, work with a local realtor who actually knows this market inside and out. And I don't just mean someone who can pull up Zillow and open a logbox. I mean someone who knows the zoning districts, knows which streets are R1 and which are not, knows the difference between what you can do with a property today versus what might change 6 months from now. Because as we just spent the last 6 minutes talking about, this stuff changes, sometimes pretty fast. Thinking about it this way. What if you had bought a property in R1 zone in early 2025, banking on short-term rental income, and nobody told you a moratorium was coming? Or what if you bought during the moratorium, thinking short-term rentals were dead in your neighborhood forever, and nobody told you a referendum could flip that? Either way, that's potentially a really expensive surprise. A great local realtor isn't just a tour guide with a license. There's someone who's been going to city council meetings, reading the ordinances, talking to property managers, and keeping their fingers on the pulse of exactly this stuff, that kind of stuff. They know which buildings have rental restrictions baked into the HOA. They know which zones are most likely to face new regulations. They know the things that never show up in the listing description, but absolutely could affect at the end of the day. Ocean City is not a complicated market to fall in love with, but it can be a complicated market to invest in if you don't have the right person in your corner. So do yourself a favor. Don't just find a realtor. Find a local realtor who lives and breathes this market, because that knowledge, it's worth way more than the commission. Okay, that's everything. The full Ocean City short-term rental saga from start to finish, plus some real talk about protecting yourself and if you're looking to buy. If this video helped you out, hit that like button and subscribe. I cover Ocean City real estate and local news and try to make actually worth your time. So stick around. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're at. Are you an existing short-term rental owner, a potential buyer, or just someone who enjoys watching city council drama unfold? No judgment. See you in the next episode. See you next week.